Assignment 6, Part 6. Okay. First thing I want to talk about is if 0 crosses the x-axis. Okay, and I'm going to put in parentheses odd exponent. That's what we're looking for. So, for example, if you have x minus 1 to the first power, which we don't normally write the 1, if we have x minus 2 to the third power, or x plus 4 to the fifth power. Okay, so these zeros, x equals 1, 2, and negative 4, all go through the x-axis. Okay, and I think of like x cubed, which I keep referring to. X cubed has a 0 at 0, and it goes through. Oops, that was the wrong way. Sorry, x cubed looks more like this. Falls left, rises right. Okay, so it goes through 0. And then we have zeros that touch the x-axis. And that happens when we have even exponents. Okay. So I have even exponents that touches the x-axis. So if you had x minus 1 squared, x plus 3 to the fourth, okay, and this would be equals 0, this would be equals 0, or y equals, and you're putting in 0 for y, you get x equals 1, you get a negative 3. So when we have even powers, it touches the x-axis. And the most common one is y equals x squared. Y equals x squared touches the 0 and goes back up. So it touches it, and then so it hits it and goes back the way where it's coming from. So it doesn't go through, it just touches. So that happens when you have an even exponent. All right, let's look at a couple of problems. There's a lot of parts here. Okay, so first part. End behavior. Okay, end behavior. It probably has the options. I just copied this off of a problem. So end behavior, all we care about is just the highest powers. So we have x times x times x, which is x cubed. So it's positive and to the third, so it falls to the left and it rises to the right. I'm thinking there's an option to click that. Okay. So we already did that. That we did before. Now we have the zeros. Okay. So all these binomials here have a power of 1. So I know for touches, there's none there. There'll probably be an option to click that. And because these are all first power negative 3, so you set each piece equal to 0. So you get negative 3, negative 2, and 1. Just like we did last video. Okay. And those all go through because these all have the power of 1. Okay. The y-intercept of the graph, plug in 0 for x. So we get 3 times 2 times negative 1, which equals negative 6. Okay, so you're just plugging in 0 for x. We didn't see this in the last couple of problems, but we're plugging in 0 for x. Okay. And then the last piece, they want you to graph this in ALEKS I won't ask you to do this on the test. What you're supposed to do is use all this information to help you graph it. These will all be important points, but I don't mind if you use your graphing calculator to graph it and just, get it done in Alex. Another good one is Desmos. It's free online calculator. We like using that a lot with the high school kids, especially like Algebra 1, Algebra 2. Okay, so Desmos, it's Desmos graphing calculator. Okay, it's free. Shouldn't have to pay for anything. Or some type of graphing calculator will help you graph this. That's my best hint for this. I mean, all this information you should see all this information that we found, but to graph it, I don't mind, if you use help. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at this one. Number 2. Cut out a few of these for you. Okay, so hopefully most of the part is good. All right, so end behavior. So instead of writing f of x, I write y. So we need the negative. We need the x. We need the next one's x squared. And then we have an x. So we end up with negative 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative x to the 4th. So that means it falls to the left, falls to the right. Okay, so that opens down. Falls left, falls right. Hopefully that's a clickable option. So falls left and right. Now, the crosses the x-axis. That's the odd one. So it's when x, so for the crosses, it's when x plus 2 equals 0, and when x minus 1 equals 0. Subtract 2 from both sides, you get negative 2. Add 1 to both sides, you get 1. Now, the touches is the even one. So it's when x plus 1 equals 0. The 2 just tells us that it's touching. So x equals negative 1. And if you do this right, these numbers should not match up. They should be different. There's no way they can cross and touch. Okay. And now the y-intercept for f, plug in 0 for x. So we get negative 2. We get 1 squared, which is still 1. And we get negative 1. So we get negative 2 times 1 is negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. So we should get 2. And then they just want you to graph it. Like I said, use a graphing calculator, use Desmos, use any free online graphing calculator is fine. Desmos is probably the best and easiest. Okay. And if you need to, you look up how to use it real quick. I'm sure there's videos all over YouTube. All right. So that was number 2. Okay, number 3 here, end behavior. So we take the negative in front, we take x squared, and then we have another x squared. So that's negative x to the 4th, just like before. So it falls to the left, falls to the right. I'm not going to write that again. All right, where does it cross the x-axis? Nowhere, because both of these are even. So we have none. Where does it touch? At negative 2 and positive 1. And then the y-intercept, plug in 0 for x, we get negative times, this one, be careful. Put it in the calculator exactly as you see it. So 0 plus 2, we get 2 squared times negative 1 squared. So you should get, this is 2 squared, 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, times 1 should get negative 4. So just be careful with your calculator. Okay, if you enter it exactly like this, you're good. Even if you forget the parentheses here, you might be good. Yeah, but let's do it right. Just plug it in. You always use parentheses. Okay, and then graph it. Use some kind of aid. Okay. I think this is the last. Yeah, this is the last one. This was a tougher section. Okay, so our end behavior, we have x squared. Remember, we cross out the plus 1, we have another x squared, and we cross out the minus 1, we have an x. So we end up with x to the 2, 4, and 1 is 5. X to the 5th. So this it's odd positive, so it falls left and rises right. And that's from a prior video. Okay, where does it cross the x-axis? When x equals 1. So we're setting that x minus 1 equal to 0, x equals 1. Okay. This one might be the tricky part. Where does it touch? Well, it touches, move this over here, when x squared equals 0 and when x plus 1 equals 0. So we get 0. We don't do plus or minus for 0. And we get negative 1. So 0, comma, negative 1. In the y-intercept, we get 0 plus 1 squared means 0 times 1 squared, which is 1, times negative 1, which is negative 1. 0, 1, negative 1. Yep. Okay. And in the graphing part, use something for help. Okay. And that concludes this video.